Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rux, I'm a Western Tropical Astrologer, and today we're going to be talking about the full moon in Gemini. This is coming up on the 15th of December. It's happening at 9:01 GMT time, so you can adjust that for your own time zone. The full moon is taking place at 23 degrees, 52 minutes of Gemini. So if you have in your natal chart planets, angles, important points around 23, 24 degrees of the mutable signs, you are going to feel this lunation the most. What are the mutable signs? Let's recap. Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. There will be some folks here watching or listening to this, if you're listening to the podcast version, who are really going to enjoy this lunation. I'm talking to those who have planets or angles or points such as the North Node, important points such as the North Node, around 23, 24 degrees of the following: Aquarius, Libra, Aries, Leo. You folks, I gotta say, you are probably going to have a great time at the time of this full moon, because it is forming a harmonious aspect with your natal planetary placements. Full moons generally are times of culmination, of results, of peaks. We are likely to see the outcomes of something that we've been invested in potentially. This full moon in particular may put the spotlight on, especially at a collective level, on topics such as education, travel, potentially the media, because the full moon is also an aspect to Neptune. And when I say the media, I'm referring to obviously like news outlets and things like that, but I'm also referring to maybe the film industry, artists. Artists are probably going to be in the spotlight as well. I like this full moon because Mercury is direct on the 15th of December. Mercury goes direct on the 15th, so the retrograde is over and Mercury rules the full moon, and it will also form a harmonious aspect with both Mars and Venus. So we're probably going to hear news, we're probably going to get that much awaited clarity that we've been looking for, that we've been searching for, let's say. The news that we're getting, the information that we're getting, whatever it is that we are understanding potentially or learning at the time of this full moon, seems to give us a prod, seems to give us a push, seems to give us some sort of a boost in the direction of our goals. It seems to energize us. It also seems to put us in a more harmonious relationship with certain people in our lives. It seems to give us exactly the information that we need to both move forward with our lives, as well as maybe reach out to certain people, improve some relationships. We might even be able to fix some of the things that we acted upon, or that we took into account as facts at the beginning of December, when Mercury was in a harmonious aspect with Mars once again, but Mercury was retrograde at the beginning of December. So beginning of the month, we probably did not have the correct information. We probably did not have clarity. We were probably operating from this place of believing in something that was not 100% anchored in reality. We may have been misinformed. We may have operated off the back of wrong information altogether. So I feel like at the time of this full moon, we can make amends. At the time of this full moon, we have clarity. We can say, okay, this is the direction in which I need to be headed. These are the people that I need to talk to. This is the action that I need to take. Overall, because we do have this harmonious aspect between Mercury, Venus, Mercury and Mars, we are feeling uplifted, we are feeling optimistic, we are feeling quite positive. There is also a possibility that whatever was unclear at the beginning of the month now feels a lot more straightforward to us, and that's giving us once again this sort of like jovial, uplifting energy. We're keen to talk, we're keen to share things with people, we are keen to come together with others. Like I said, we're probably quite keen to make amends as well. The full moon, however, is still in a tense aspect to Neptune, so there is probably going to be some sort of surrender involved, letting go, releasing something. Neptune is all about releasing and letting go and going with the flow. What are we likely to release? What are we likely to let go of? Probably some sort of an illusion, some sort of a fantasy, something that was, I repeat, not necessarily grounded in reality. We may also sacrifice something for the greater good, for everyone's greater good. We might realize, okay, this is not doable, this is not practical, this was just like I don't know, like, as I said, some sort of a fantasy or some sort of an aspiration that I had, but the reality is that things don't necessarily function in the mundane world in alignment with our dreams, ideals, fantasies, and aspirations. So we have to kind of like find a middle ground and maybe make compromises. So we are potentially going to sacrifice something for the greater good at this time and let go of a lie, of an illusion, of a pipe dream. Not because we aren't driven and motivated about what's coming up next, because we actually are. We genuinely are. But we might realize how we've been wrong, how we've been maybe, as I said, potentially disinformed, how we've been lied to, how we maybe lied to ourselves, because self-deception is absolutely, absolutely, absolutely real. We can find excuses to motivate whatever reality in our lives keeps us in a place of comfort, and whatever maintains our views about ourselves in general. So whatever kind of like challenges the view that we want to have of who we are as individuals, whatever challenges the ego, we may find a way, because our mind is super creative, we may find a way to once again deceive ourselves in regards to that matter. So some sort of a release, some sort of a letting go, some sort of a surrender. There can be some losses, I will put it out there. Some people might experience some losses. At the same time, these losses, if you ask me at least, and again, obviously, we're all free people, we all have our own views and beliefs and so on. These losses are not necessarily to be dwelt upon that much, because the action is on. The coast is clear for us to move forward. The information is correct this time. So yeah, whatever needs to be let go of, I would just let go of it. And speaking of letting go, dun 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 dun, I do have an important announcement to make before we dive into the horoscope, before we dive into the update for each of the 12 zodiac signs. On the 15th of December, so actually on the very, very, very day of the full moon, and the day when Mercury goes direct. This is, by the way, also the last full moon of 2024, so it is extra, extra, extra important. So on the 15th of December at 6 p.m. UK time, that would be 1 p.m. Eastern time and 10 a.m. Pacific time, I am hosting a group guided meditation as a live video Zoom call. So this is not the first group meditation that I'm running for the Written in the Stars community. I have actually hosted a previous event of this type in November. This is the second group guided meditation that we're doing together as a community. What is going to be the focus of this guided meditation? So we are focusing on releasing self-deception. So releasing and letting go of a lie that we have been living in or that we have been telling ourselves. Why is that important? Because that might be holding us back from fulfilling our full potential. That might be holding us back from living our best lives, actually. That might be holding us back from evolving in the direction that we want to evolve in. This is not a meditation addressed purely to those who have meditated in the past. Actually, everyone is welcome. So if you haven't meditated at all before, this is for you. I promise you it's not going to be boring. I know that a lot of people have this misconception about meditation, especially those who haven't meditated so far, who haven't done guided meditations in particular. They may have this preconceived notion that it has to be a boring thing. You're just like, I don't know, sitting still and hoping that no intrusive thoughts are going to come into your mind. No, the guided meditation is actually very, very different. We're going to focus on visualization. We're going to go through a journey in our mind's eye. We are going to use visualization. We're going to use breath work, and we are working directly with the subconscious. We are reprogramming our subconscious to release, as I said, and let go of a lie that we've been living in. It could have something to do with a situation in our lives, so a relationship, a job. It could be connected with self-sabotage, blaming, justifying our, just a few examples of how we deceive ourselves and how we're actually creating blockers for us to achieve our goals and to, like I said, fulfill our potential. So everyone is welcome, everyone is invited. If you want to sign up, and by the way, there are limited spaces, I'm going to leave my email address in the pinned comment and in the description box. My email address is rux, R-U-X, at writteninthestars-astrology.com. That's rux at writteninthestars-astrology.com. The event is going to be 1 hour long. That will include the online guided meditation, and also we're going to have a conversation and we're going to share some of our experiences afterwards. The participation cost is 11 UK pounds. So I know that a lot of people are watching this from the United States. That's approximately $13, $14, depending on the conversion rate on the date. So if you want to book your spot, you can email me on rux at writteninthestars-astrology.com, or you can send me a direct message on my Instagram handle, which is at ruxunbelievable, in one word, ruxunbelievable. That's where you can find me. 15th of December at 6 p.m. UK time. So recapping, that is 1 p.m. Eastern time and 10 a.m. Pacific time. Now let's go back to the astrology of this full moon, the full moon in Gemini. Before we go into the updates for each of the 12 zodiac signs, remember, please, 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 to listen to the update for your rising sign. And if you don't know what your rising sign is, you can find out potentially your time of birth. You are going to need your date, time, and place of birth. You can find out your time of birth either from the hospital that you were born in or from your birth certificate. And there are a lot of online natal chart generators, such as the one on astro.com, where you can put in your birthday details and it's going to generate your natal chart, and you're going to know what your rising sign is. These types of general horoscopes are created with the rising sign in mind. And please keep in mind that this is a general forecast, a general horoscope, so not everything is going to resonate with you. Those of you who want to work with me, I'm a full-time consulting astrologer. I work with clients on a day-to-day basis in my practice. If you want to book a personal astrological consultation, a personal reading, if you're at a crossroads in your life, if you want to understand your soul's intentions better, if you want to live in alignment with the cosmic energies, you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. You can go straight to the services section, writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is where you can book my services. So that's where you can book a personal astrological reading with me. I am, when I'm filming this, taking bookings for the second half of January and the first part of February. So generally the waiting time after you make the payment is around a month to a month and a half until we actually connect via live Zoom video call. So let's go into the updates for each of the 12 zodiac signs, and please listen, please, 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 to the update for your rising sign if you know it. If not, you can listen to the update for your sun sign, obviously. My dear Aries, Aries suns, and Aries risings. 15th of December, Mercury goes direct. Woohoo! Great news, great news, great news. So Mercury is going direct, my dear Aries, especially Aries risings, in your 9th house. So if you have been experiencing delays, frustrations, miscommunication in connection with travel, in connection with your academic path, in connection with your education, in connection with foreign lands and foreign countries. So any sort of, I don't know, relationships, maybe with like business partners or colleagues or collaborators that are based abroad. If you've been experiencing challenges in this direction, Mercury direct is probably going to help tremendously. This full moon in Gemini activates your third house, ninth house axis. So it activates the axis of travel and education and communication in general. So that's why Mercury direct is so helpful. This full moon can bring with it news, results, outcomes connected with your education. So maybe if you're waiting for the result of an exam, you're probably gonna hear the news around this time. If you're waiting for results connected with a visa application, for instance, you're probably going to get a result around this time. If you were potentially waiting to hear back from someone who's based abroad, maybe in connection with a sale, a purchase, or maybe in connection with classes, courses, with your education, you are probably going to hear back around this time. I do want to flag that this full moon can potentially bring with it some mixed messages, some mixed news, let's say. So if you're waiting for news connected with an exam, you might pass the exam, but it might not be exactly with the grade that you expected it to pass. If you are traveling around this time, which you might, I do believe you may want to keep your diary, keep your schedule quite flexible, because there could be some unexpected, unforeseen, maybe disappointments. I mean, maybe there's, I don't know, some sort of a delay, or maybe the plane gets canceled. That doesn't mean that you can't rebook something. That doesn't mean that you can't take action immediately. You actually can act straight away, if you ask me. But alas, there is a possibility that things might not go exactly as you had planned them. And if you are driving, if you have a car, if you employ any sort of means of transportation, there is a possibility that something might stop functioning. So you might need to replace it. Some of you may also potentially need to have an important but necessary conversation with a few people, or a few types of people in your life. I am thinking of siblings, I am thinking of neighbors, I'm thinking of bosses, of colleagues. I am thinking possibly also of someone who has some sort of a say on your legal status. So I'm thinking of, I don't know, attorneys. You may need to talk about the future. You may need to talk about what's working and what's not working. And if you do hear news from these kinds of people around something that isn't working any longer, I do believe they're probably going to have a solution as to how you can switch gears straight away and bulletproof your future. Taurus suns and Taurus risings, 15th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon in Gemini puts the spotlight on your financial axis. So you're probably going to hear news connected with money, finances, taxes, debts, your income. I do believe that this could be the time when you get paid, but when you also need to potentially pay something off, maybe a credit card, or maybe pay your taxes. There is a possibility that whatever payments you need to make around this time, they might be a little bit more expensive than you had envisaged. They might cost you a little bit more than you thought they would, and you might need to adjust some of your plans for the future, if you ask me. There can also be potentially some challenging conversations around money and around different value systems, so different sets of values between you and other people. So let's say, for example, you have a little bit of a challenging conversation with maybe a friend, and you may be disappointed, and maybe they are disappointed as well, because you're not exactly on the same wavelength in terms of beliefs, in terms of views, in terms of value system. That doesn't mean that things cannot function between the two of you moving forward, but there is this feeling of a bubble being burst somehow. There's also a possibility that you may need to potentially cancel some plans that you had made as a result of something going on in your financial sector, something that needs to get paid, or as a result of you needing to channel your finances, to channel your money someplace else. If you do need financial support from anyone, you're probably going to get it. If you have been experiencing any frustrations, delays, miscommunication in relation to financial matters, maybe taxes, maybe in connection with business partnerships, for example. I do believe that the fog is going to be lifted at this point in time, which is good because at least you know where you stand, at least you know how you can move forward. But at the same time, as I said, you might not necessarily be on the same page with someone in regards to money matters, Taurus. Geminis, Gemini suns and Gemini risings. 15th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon is putting the spotlight on you and on your relationship sector. Relationships don't necessarily refer to romantic relationships, although those could be in the spotlight as well. I am particularly interested for you Geminis at the time of this full moon in professional relationships, professional collaborations, maybe the relationship with a client, a boss, a figure of authority, but maybe also the relationship with a parent, possibly. So this is a time when you may need to have an important conversation with someone and potentially disappoint them. I have to say, you may have to deliver a hard to swallow truth. The opposite is also very possible. It's possible that someone might deliver a little bit of a disappointing truth to you. So it could be a boss, it could be a client. Someone could say to you, listen, we've tried to make this work, we've tried to make this collaboration work, but we think very differently, we speak very differently, we see the world very differently, so no hard feelings, but alas, it's not going to function moving forward. I do believe, however, that if you have the hard conversations, the hard talks, be it with a business partner, be it with a boss, be it with your significant other, Mercury is in a nice aspect to Mars in Leo, in your third house of communication, Geminis. I feel like you can find solutions together. So just because you're not on the same page, you're not on the same wavelength, just because you're not in agreement about something, Geminis, it doesn't mean that there can't be a way to function as a unit moving forward. There is, however, a chance that some partnerships, some collaborations, even some relationships might be dissolved at this point in time. You might even decide to stop working with someone who was helping you with a matter on the professional front. So maybe with a recruiter, maybe with an accountant. That is also a possibility. It's also possible that when you deliver the news to the other person, they are taking it quite well. So don't stress out that much, Geminis. Cancer suns and Cancer risings. My fellow Cancerians, I am a Cancer rising myself. 15th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon puts the spotlight on your axis of health and service, Cancerians. So some of you may realize some of the things that you've been doing or saying or thinking that have been potentially sabotaging your efforts. So self-sabotage is real. And you might realize, oh my God, I've been overthinking this. I've been overanalyzing this. I've been over-researching this. I've been kind of like trying too hard on an intellectual level. And as a result, I've been shooting myself in the foot. So I need to stop doing this. Potentially when it comes to a matter connected with your work, there is such a thing as overkill. Overkill in regards to research, overkill in regards to potential worst case scenarios. So you might realize, okay, I gotta stop. I need to stop. This isn't functioning. This isn't working. There's also a possibility you might realize, Cancerians, how an existing worldview and life philosophy in connection with your work is no longer serving you. So you could say, okay, enough of this, enough of the, I don't know, like self-sacrificial views, self-sacrificial tendencies when it comes to work. We have a saying in my natal Romania, no one's going to build you a statue. So if you're drowning in work, and if you are, give me 1 second. If you are sacrificing yourselves on the altar of work, Cancerians, you may want to reconsider it. You may want to stop. You may want to do less of that because, alas, sometimes less is more. There is a possibility that you might also realize how you've been misled or how you've been operating from a place of having the wrong information when it comes to your health. So let's say you were, I don't know, you were taught as a child that you should eat this, and that, and you've been nurturing your body in a certain way, and you find out that actually some of the things that you've been eating are completely detrimental to your health. So you might decide to completely cut them out of your diet. So you might become aware as to how something is negatively impacting your health, and you were just misled. You did not have the right information, or you didn't have complete information in regards to this, Cancerians. Some of you, there is a possibility, might give up on a job. Some of you might give up on an existing project at work. You might be finalizing a project at work, and it may feel like it's time to rest, it's time to recover, it's time to take some time off. You might also decide to stop working with someone who is based abroad, or to stop investing maybe in a class, in a course, in something of an educational nature, because it's not the direction in which you want to be headed, and it's also not a direction in which you, I don't know, see yourselves progressing from a financial perspective. So from a return on investment, it doesn't seem to make sense. Speaking of finances, your financial situation is very nicely aspected. I feel like you are going to be a lot clearer as to what projects work-wise are worth your time and your energy, what's going to really pay off, and what is worth just putting to the side, essentially. Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings. 15th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon in Gemini is putting the spotlight on your 11th house, 5th house axis. So it is putting the spotlight, this full moon, Leos, on the completion, the fulfillment of a goal, of a group project potentially. Maybe it's a collective goal. Maybe it's a goal that you had in conjunction with someone else, maybe with a partner, maybe a business partner, maybe a life partner. It looks like you are fulfilling this sort of maybe joint dream, let's say, or collaborative goal. You could also feel like you have fulfilled and brought to a close a creative project in collaboration with someone else, my dear Leos. At the same time, it may not have necessarily turned out exactly as you thought it would turn out. It does feel like it's a bit of a bittersweet moment. On the one hand, you might be happy that it's over. On the other hand, you might feel like potentially, not everyone involved in it is 100% satisfied with the result, and that's okay. Or maybe this goal cost you more than you thought it would cost you, in terms of financial investment, in terms of maybe just what you had to sacrifice. And you might realize, okay, I've achieved this, but was it worth the sacrifice? So you might decide potentially to stop sacrificing, I don't know, maybe quality time spent with your kids or quality time spent with your partner in order to achieve goals of this nature. It can be a very social time for you, my dear Leos. It can be a time of fun, a time of enjoyment, a time of entertainment. It can be a time of partying. It can be a time of celebration. But I would also be super careful when it comes to how much money you spend. Also when it comes to not hurting someone's feelings, let's say. So someone might feel neglected, someone might feel, I don't know, like you're sacrificing, once again, potentially very important kind of like quality time that they would want to spend with you. There's also a chance that you might cross a boundary as a result of having too much fun. You might say the wrong thing. You might hurt someone inadvertently. I don't know, maybe you had one too many drinks. That's just a random example. I'm not saying that you have to. And you say something and it really hurts someone's feelings. So just be extra aware of that. And if you do feel like someone is upset, maybe just make sure to clarify that you were not malicious in any shape or form, which you probably weren't, but it may have like struck a very kind of like sensitive chord with the other person, and it is probably someone that you care about. So just saying. Virgos, Virgo suns and Virgo risings. 15th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon in Gemini puts the spotlight on your public life, professional life, and your personal life, and your home and family life. So what's likely to be unfolding at this time, my dear Virgos? I feel like you're getting some sort of news, results, outcomes. You are hearing from, I don't know, your boss, your manager, your company, in regards to the direction in which your career is headed. Now, this could be good news. There is a possibility that it's good news, but it could also involve some sort of a surrender, a sacrifice, a release, a letting go. Maybe, let's say you are going to be promoted, which is possible, by the way. Or maybe, let's say you are tempted to accept an offer for like an overseas job, but that involves leaving behind a home. Maybe that involves sacrificing the existing home situation that you've gotten used to. Potentially that involves also sacrificing some quality time that you were supposed to be spending with your family. Maybe you're going to see less of your family. Maybe you're going to see less of your partner. There is also a possibility you might be making some sort of a public announcement. So this could be completely unrelated to your career. Because I know a lot of people say, okay, what if I don't have a career? What if I'm not in work? And so on. So you could be making a public announcement. You could be sharing something publicly in relation to your home life, your family life, and in relation to a certain maybe partnership or collaboration, or maybe even in relation to a marriage that is no longer functioning. So you might announce, I don't know, that you together with your partner have decided to move someplace else because you're no longer happy in the place that you're living in. And maybe there are a few people, I don't know, it could be your parents, it could be, maybe it could even be someone else, like, I don't know, friends, who are potentially a tiny bit disappointed that they might see it as giving up, but for you, it's definitely not giving up. It's finally feeling like you can move forward, let's say. There's also a possibility that a parent around this time might experience a bit of a mixed bag kind of lunation, Virgos. So they might give up on something, they might give up on a job, they might give up on a home, they could experience potentially a bit of a sense of loss, but at the same time, they do seem to be quite optimistic about what the future holds, about what's coming up next, about the next chapter of their life. If you need to disappoint anyone, if you need to call things by their name, be it in relation to a family member, be it in relation to a spouse, my recommendation would be to speak up, because Mercury is direct. There's no more miscommunication. There's no more kind of misinterpretations unfolding. And it feels like if you don't speak up, you can't really move forward in the relation with this person, because there's always kind of like something bubbling up underneath the surface. So if you need to like bring back to the surface old issues so that you can address them and release them, it is a good time to do that. And I do believe actually the connection with this person can function a lot better after you have addressed underlying problems. Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings, 15th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon in Gemini puts the spotlight on your educational axis, travel axis. It also puts the spotlight on in-laws, for those of you who have in-laws. It puts the spotlight on legal matters, on matters connected with foreign lands, foreign countries, on matters connected with academia. As I said, I did mention education. I'm gonna say this. If you've been waiting for news to make its way to you from a legal institution, if you've been waiting for news connected with, I don't know, a trial, if you've been waiting for news to make its way to you from your preferred university, let's say you applied for, I don't know, some sort of a class, course, degree, something like that, the news is coming. It's quite mixed. You might need to do some extra work. You might also feel potentially a little bit prepared or unprepared, or not competent enough to maybe move forward with this application, for example. There is also a possibility that the relationship with someone who is based abroad, maybe like a colleague, a coworker, maybe a stakeholder, maybe, I don't know, like a supplier who's based abroad, someone who you've been working with in the professional space, might fall apart. So you might need to let go of it. You might need to move forward. You might need to find alternative solutions. There is a possibility that there could also be some changes in legislation when it comes to your collaboration with people from abroad, when it comes to your involvement with any sort of like foreign matters. Changes in legislation that require you to find alternative solutions, let's say, and to plan your future in a different direction. Some sort of like disappointment potentially connected with traveling, maybe travel for work purposes is possible. I mean, a plane could get canceled, and if you have to travel to like a work conference, it could be that you might need to book other tickets. But I do see you acting fast, thinking fast, and coming up with like a really quick solution. So I don't believe that all is lost, and I don't believe you should, I don't know, cry too much over spilt milk, because it's going to work out. in a different way. Talk to friends, talk to other people, talk to colleagues. They are willing to help. They are able to help as well. You might be wrapping up a course. Some of you could be wrapping up a course, a class. As much as you may want to celebrate because it's over, I don't know, you got your diploma, you're done, you might also become very, very acutely aware of how this is not necessarily leaving you fully prepared, this course, for the reality of your day-to-day work, or for the reality of the kind of like service that you have to provide on a day-to-day basis. So you might realize, okay, I got my, I don't know, like certification or something like that. But when it comes to utilizing this, when it comes to putting this to work, am I prepared, or do I have more to learn? The answer is probably the latter, Libras. Scorpio suns and Scorpio risings. 15th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. We've got a full moon activating your financial axis, and especially it puts the spotlight on your 8th house. So it puts the spotlight on taxes, debts, shared assets, shared resources. Let's say if you're working with a business partner, matters connected with bringing your resources together are coming into the spotlight. I dare say that you're probably getting some sort of news, and you are potentially having some sort of significant conversations around money, shared assets, shared resources. As I said, taxes, you might need to pay your taxes, you might need to pay your debts, you might need to talk to your business partner about joint expenses, you might need to potentially talk about spending less money. I feel like you are not 100% on the same page around how money should be spent. You might also have some significant and potentially a little bit frustrating conversations with your partner, with your spouse, around how much money is going towards maybe your kids, if you have kids, maybe towards the education of your children. For example, you might decide that you no longer want to spend as much on extracurricular activities for children. Maybe they have become more expensive than they used to be. So something's got to give here. I believe you may feel like you have to sacrifice something, if you ask me. There's also a possibility that you might feel like you have to sacrifice in order to pay your debts, or in order to fulfill your financial obligations. You might need to sacrifice potentially some of the money and the budget that you had allocated towards fun, entertainment, fun activities, towards passions, hobbies, and things like that. A fun activity could be very costly around this time. That is a possibility. So if you have other financial goals, my dear Scorpios, you may want to reconsider how much money you allocate to this activity. Mercury is direct, so no more misunderstandings, no more miscommunication, no more lack of clarity as to where you stand financially and as to what expenses you're dealing with. I also believe that if you have some sort of a challenging interaction around money with someone, you may find a way. You may be able to find a way to make amends, or to explain to this other person how maybe things have been kind of like blurry and confusing and challenging, and how maybe there have been some, like I said, some things lost in translation between the two of you when it comes to financial matters. So if you were not on the same page with someone in regards to how money should be spent, or if you realize someone got upset because of a financial matter, I do believe this could be a good time, a good moment to be bold and courageous in your reaching out to them and saying, okay, listen, let's clarify things. Let's put all the cards on the table. And I do believe things can actually move forward, even if the interaction is potentially quite not great to have, conversationally speaking. Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. 15th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon puts the spotlight on your 7th house, which is your relationship sector, your collaborations with others. So when I say relationships, I'm not just referring to romantic relationships. I'm actually referring to relationships in general. They could be romantic, they could be relationships of a romantic nature, but they could also be relationships with family members in particular, I have to say. This full moon is really emphasizing the interaction with a family member. It could be a parent, but it could also be a family member in general. I feel like this is a great time to talk to them. They might even reach out to you, and they might want to talk about something that's been causing them pain or hurt or suffering. It could also be a good time if you realize, if you notice that either your spouse or a family member has been going through a hard time, has been going through a difficult time. Maybe they've been hurt, maybe they've been wounded, maybe they've been, I don't know, lost somehow. Maybe they've been feeling like they don't have a clear sense of direction anymore. This is a perfect time to take the bull by the horns, as they say, to potentially approach the matter with an upbeat, uplifting energy from a conversational perspective, to potentially talk to them about the big picture, to hear them out, to allow them to air their concerns and to air whatever has been bothering them, whatever has been the source of their suffering. Mercury is forming a harmonious aspect with Mars, so I feel like you can help them see the big picture and also see them, help them see how they can take action in regards to a matter that's been upsetting to them. There is a possibility, however, that some relationships, especially I want to say relationships of a romantic nature, I also want to stress out that this lunation is not enough for this to happen. So some relationships of a romantic nature may no longer function in the way that they have functioned so far. So you may need to have a very serious conversation about the way forward with a partner. You seem to be disappointed. They might be disappointed as well. They might be hurt or suffering or disillusioned with a matter connected with home life, family life, connected with your private life together. No one's happy, so you might as well just like air it out and talk about it and see how you can find some sort of a solution together. And you might also have to potentially have a conversation with someone around giving up on an element connected with your home life and your private life. So let's say your partner is very unhappy in the home that you're living in right now. And maybe for you, it's not a big deal. Maybe you're like, yeah, this is great. This is fine. I don't care. I'm just like, I'm traveling. I'm busy. I've got other things on my mind. But your partner is hurt. Your partner is not happy. So you might be sensing this. So it's the best time to sit down and say, okay, what do we need to give up on? What do we need to release? Do we need to move? Do we need to relocate? Do we need to alter the dynamic at home? I feel like you can be the one that can put a positive and constructive spin on this whole situation. Now, it doesn't have to be just a spin. You are probably going to come with some actionable solutions, Sagittarians. My dear Capricorns, Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings. 15th of December, active. 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon in Gemini puts the spotlight on your work sector and your health, Capricorns. So some of you could be wrapping up a work project. Some of you could be wrapping up a job. Some of you could be finalizing a significant project connected with maybe your health, I want to say. So if you've been investing a lot of time and energy into your health, it could feel like, okay, I've ticked the box, I did it, I made this thing happen. Some of you could be leaving a job. Some of you could also be leaving behind some health-related habits, or how should we call them? Some unhealthy habits, or some habits that are not potentially serving at all your health, wellness, and well-being. You might actually realize that they've been hurting you. You might actually realize that these habits and these tendencies, and maybe even this way of thinking, so it could have a lot to do with how your mind works, with how your thought processes unfold. You might realize, okay, this is not serving my health. This is potentially making you sick. So let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. This is a big theme at the time of this full moon. If a job is making you sick, which sometimes is very, very possible in this day and age, I mean, let's not go into it, but obviously, in so many ways, society is dysfunctional. In so many ways, work-life balance does not exist. In so many ways, work has taken over our lives. Is that contributing to health, or is that contributing to illness? I mean, I suppose that's a little bit of a rhetorical question. So if a job is making you sick, if you've had enough, if you're like, you know what, I'm done, let me just move forward, you might take that decision around this time. Some of you could even announce that they are quitting. There is also a possibility that some team members might leave. You could feel a little bit sorry for them. You could feel a tiny little bit disappointed. You could also feel potentially like this is your sign to prepare to look for other better options work-wise, because things are going to be quite dysfunctional moving forward in the existing workplace. Health-wise, you're getting news, but as I said, at the same time, you might also realize how you've been, operating maybe with the wrong information, or how you've been operating from the dark when it comes to your health. And I feel like knowing what works and what doesn't work is, and knowing what's what really, and knowing what has been a source of, undoing and what's been causing crises health-wise is probably very, very valuable at this time, my dear Capricorns. I feel like you're ready to take action. You're ready to move forward, both health-wise as well as work-wise. Is there a possibility that you might start doing this potentially in a behind-the-scenes manner? Yes, it is very possible, because Mercury is going direct in your 12th house. So you might have that sort of like aha moment, that moment of enlightenment, and start kind of like strategizing, start devising the plan of action behind the scenes. Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. My lovely, lovely, lovely Aquarians. 15th of December, what's going on? Active 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon is probably going to be quite fun for you, because it's putting the spotlight on your house of fun, entertainment, enjoyment, and your 11th house of friends, communities, groups of people. So I gotta say, for you Aquarians, this is actually quite a festive time. I realize it's December, so a lot of people could be celebrating. A lot of people could be having a festive time. You maybe more than others. You might be attending a significant party, a significant event. You might be catching up with friends. You might be catching up with all sorts of people who maybe you haven't seen in a long time. With Mercury direct, it feels like you're finally coming back together with your friends, potentially those who you haven't, seen in months maybe. You might be reconnecting with people. You might be potentially also reconnecting with, I'm gonna say, some of the people who you haven't had the best relationship with in some time. Maybe you've had some challenges in communication with these people. Some of you could be wrapping up a creative project. You could be launching something out into the world for the world to see. You could be doing something fun and creative, possibly also with a group of people, with a community of people. It could be with your friends. It could be with colleagues. I have to say, one thing that I would pay special attention to is the aspect of money and finances. So if you are celebrating, if you're going to a party, if you're organizing a big party, if you're organizing an event, if you are welcoming people into your home, if you are attending, like a soiree. Oh God, I need to find better words. Make sure that you are not setting yourselves back, Aquarians, by a great deal financially. Make sure that this doesn't burn a hole in your pocket. Make sure that you also keep an eye on your wallet, and make sure that you don't overspend, or that your wallet is not stolen from you. There is also a possibility that you might have some interesting, I'm going to call them challenging conversations around political views, spiritual, philosophical views with some of your friends, maybe with some of your colleagues, maybe with some of your loved ones around this time. And as painful as it might be, you may realize, okay, we are very different people, and we think very, very differently, and we still love each other, and we still have respect for each other. But you could also potentially be a little bit disappointed with some of these people. And alas, sometimes it happens. Sometimes it is what it is. Pisces suns and Pisces risings. My dear Pisces, 15th of December, active 3 days before, 3 days after. This full moon in Gemini puts the spotlight on your home life, family life, living situation, but also on your career, I'd say, Pisces, and on your public life as well. So not just career, because I know that there might be some people who are not necessarily in work. They're not involved in professional matters. So I gotta say this: you may be wrapping up something at home, maybe a home renovation, maybe a move. Potentially, you may also take a decision around this time connected with your home and living situation. This decision could be motivated by you having a great deal of clarity. Clarity is the word that I wanted to utter. This decision could be motivated by the clarity that you now have around your professional path. So let's say you've been waiting to hear news about, the future of your company. and you finally hear the news around the 15th of December, and you decide, okay, because my company is headed in this direction, maybe I want to keep on working for them, maybe I don't want to keep on working for them. If you decide you don't want to keep on working for them, there is a chance you might decide to move or to relocate or to alter in some shape or form your living situation, because it makes more sense. Let's say this full moon can also bring news to you, and potentially not all of it is maybe happy news. Some of it could be a little bit disappointing in connection with a parent. Maybe you are potentially disappointed in a decision that a parent is taking. Maybe a parent is in the process of letting go of something. So you may feel possibly a little bit powerless in terms of helping them, because you are a Pisces and you may naturally have this sort of like instinct to help. You might feel a little bit powerless when it comes to helping them deal with this matter that they are letting go of. So let's say they are letting go of a job and they're not yet ready to step into a new job, or maybe they don't have anything lined up, and you could be feeling a little bit, a tiny little bit sorry for them. I'm just going to say it. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's your responsibility. That doesn't mean that you're not coming from the best of places and intentions. That doesn't mean that you can't kind of like help them from a mental perspective. So kind of like give them a pep talk and help them see the big picture and help them kind of like look forward towards the future in their lives. I do believe you can actually do that. There's also a possibility, Pisces, that you may take a decision around your career at this point in time. It's probably something that you've been meaning to do for a long time. It's probably something that you genuinely believe in. It's probably something that is quite lucrative. It could be connected with maybe, I don't know, like a prior collaboration in your lives, Pisces. It could be connected with a former goal that you had, Pisces. However, this decision that you're quite excited about career-wise might be taking you away from home a lot more, or it might involve relocation, or it might involve spending less time with the family, or it might involve, I don't know, just you could feel potentially like you're disappointing a family member, not necessarily because they don't agree with the decision that you're taking. They might actually be supportive, but maybe they're just feeling hurt somehow from an emotional standpoint. Maybe they just hope that they would have more time to spend with you, let's say. In any case, Mercury direct is exciting. No more miscommunication, no more misinformation or disinformation, no more kind of like lack of clarity or kind of like challenges in terms of interactions with others in your professional life. And also when it comes to business partnerships, I believe that things are very, very, very clear, so you can kind of like start taking action and planning for the future, my dear Pisces. Folks, I want to thank you once again for tuning in for this full moon in Gemini horoscope, for this full moon in Gemini forecast. Let us know in the comments how this full moon unfolds for you. Even though I might not respond to all your comments, I do actually read them, and it's always very, very interesting to see how the symbolism of astrology manifests or unfolds or corresponds with the events that are happening in our day-to-day lives. Also, don't forget, on the 15th of December, I am hosting a group guided meditation on Zoom. If you want to participate, if you want to join, this is happening on the day of the full moon at 6 p.m. UK time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern time. It's focused on letting go and releasing a lie that we have been living in, releasing self-deception, so that we can make room for growth, for advancement, so that we can stop being held back by maybe certain thought patterns, maybe some sort of an illusion that we've been living in, and we can kind of like start taking action and moving forward with clarity and with a clear vision. So group guided meditation with Rux, 15th of December, 6 p.m. UK time. Email me on rux@writteninthestars-astrology.com if you want to book your spot. The cost is 11 UK pounds, and the event is going to be 1 hour long. It's also going to be recorded. I'm going to share the recording with you so that you can replay it as many times as you want. It would actually be very useful to replay the meditation. If you enjoy my work, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't, and don't forget that I'm also active on Instagram, which is, my Instagram handle is @ruxunbelievable, in one word, ruxunbelievable. Thank you, folks, and I will see you next time. Bye.